Sure does. Nebraska Senator Pete Ricketts weighing in today briefly on that no-bid state contract under investigation now by Lincoln police.
Ricketts told reporters in a call that state leaders have a right to look into state deals. In January, Nebraska Auditor Mike Foley's office issued a report accusing Governor Jim Pillen of favoritism.
Just whenever you do a no-bid contract, it means that you want to have scrutiny over that. So I think the fact that the auditor or the legislature or whomever wants to provide that scrutiny, it's appropriate when you have a no-bid contract.
Foley's report stated that Pillen handpicked global sustainability developers for a $2.5 million contract to help the state grow its renewable energy program. According to Foley, the state got around the rule by claiming it was an emergency, but did not provide any information on why it was an emergency. Foley served as Ricketts' lieutenant governor, and Ricketts was appointed to the Senate by Governor Jim Pillen. In terms of Lincoln police investigating the contract, we did reach out to Pillen's office yesterday to get comment on that, but so far no response.